All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. Start it, pause it. You got to do that every single time. I see that chat is moving, so that is a good sign. Lots of news today. We could talk about Syria a little bit as well, because it appears that that regime has completely collapsed. An outgoing president from the Biden administration to the incoming Trump administration. I'm sure that the timing is totally coincidental. Now, we'll be talking about other things, though. We're going to talk about the J6ers. Donald Trump is officially saying he does intend to pardon the J6ers on day one. We're going to hold him to that promise. If he follows through with it, that's really, really great. If he doesn't, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I think that he'll do fine generally. We've also got to talk about Daniel Penny, because it appears the specific notes that were issued in the case with regards to jury instructions mean that if the original charge falls through, which it has, the manslaughter charge has been effectively, that was thrown out. A secondary charge should not be pursued at all. Unfortunately, they're pursuing the charge. This is great for the defense, by the way, because his lawyers might be chuckling all the way to the bank. At this point, they're just trying to get money out of him, probably, or something like that. They realize they're not going to find him guilty of anything. If they do, he's not going to serve any time. The FDA may outlaw food dyes within weeks. Bombshell move would affect candy, soda, and cakes and revolutionize American diets. Yes, finally, it looks like we might preemptively, pre-RFK Jr., get a ban on certain food dyes. This is actually important. Some people are allergic to them. Like they can't have red dye or something like that. They react poorly to it, and it fucks around with their endocrine system. I myself have no such problem, but some people do, so we'll be talking about that. Live updates. Trump to attend Notre Dame Cathedral reopening in Paris and meet with President Macron. Oh, they were hamming it up totally. By the way, I don't believe Joe Biden was actually there at the time. Jill Biden was, and now there's a famous picture of him chuckling at Jill Biden and her looking extremely happy. I wonder why. Thank God, my geriatric husband no longer has to pretend to be leading the country. Milei delivers on promise to make Argentina great again. We'll be talking about that. They've stabilized the economy and all sorts of cool shit. There's something fishy about a recent sighting of an orca in a salmon hat. I did not know this. Apparently, orcas, which are relatively intelligent creatures, sometimes like bite the heads off fish and then wear them on their heads as hats. This is technically old news, literally dating to the 80s, but why did nobody tell me about this before? This is exactly down my alleyway. Yeah, so apparently orcas wear dead fish on their heads as a form of decorum. Audio quality is bad. Just a second. Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah. I know why. Shit. My apologies for the audio. Just a sec. I fucked that up real good, didn't I? No, that didn't work. Please hatch in. Yeah, shit. I fucked up my microphone. Just a second, everyone. I realize that my audio quality is definitely not up to par. And unfortunately, I've got a pile of bullshit over here. So I'm going to try to get this to work. There we go. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. Is my audio better now? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Better. Okay. Yeah, my apologies. Unfortunately, I actually had my phone charger in there, so I had the microphone disconnected. Shit. Whoops. There goes the entire intro. I mean, this is Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666, so, if I didn't have a tech issue or something like that, it's sort of like when I go on the quartercast, like later at 1. At some point during the show, he's going to, like, freeze up. This is inevitable. It happens every show. Testing, testing, testing. Okay. Just let me check the audio level. Testing, testing. Okay, that should be fine. Yeah, the problem is I only have so many USB connection ports in the actual computer. That's the one problem with Alienwares. They only have 2 of them, plus the USB 3. And so you sort of have to jury rig it a little bit. It's usual. Yeah, exactly. Copium Poppies, saw your post about the stream earlier. FYI, orcas, which are actually just dolphins wearing blackface, wearing dead fish hats, is old news. I saw articles about that like a year or more ago. Apparently, it was first noticed in 1987. We didn't tell you before today because we assumed it was already common knowledge and didn't want to look dumb. Jim, do you still smoke weed? What do you think of CBD? I have no problem with weed, CBD, anything like that. I do not smoke marijuana, though. At the moment, I don't think I'm legally allowed to, actually, despite it being legal in the state. So I try to, not get remanded into custody. All right, let's talk about the J6ers first. This is fairly important news. Breaking, Donald Trump will immediately pardon January 6th prisoners on day 1, according to his NBC interview. These people are living in hell, he said of the prisoners. I remember that there was actually a story. This was, it was last year or maybe 2 years ago at this point. And the federal marshals actually went into the jail where they were being held. And they said these, amenities here are not sufficient. They're quite literally living in hell. So you have to send some of them off-site because there's too much overcrowding. I remember that. And then when I went to jail in NOLA, I was like, holy shit, if they're living under these conditions, holy shit, that must be something. So Trump is promising to pardon the J6ers. This is the right thing to do. On day 1, the first things that he needs to do are things that are capable of being done very quickly. There should already be like a pardon list and so forth drawn up before he's even in office. Of course, until January 20th, he's not technically the president of the United States at all. What he needs to do, therefore, is prioritize what he's going to do. There are plenty of things that'll take a little longer. Tax relief, okay, that has to go through the House. They're not going to block it because they don't dare to. That can be punted for a few weeks. You've got the border wall. That's already paid up. You've already got the discretionary spending, so you don't need to prioritize that. What you need to do is prioritize the little victories like pardoning the J6ers that you can do literally on the first day. And if Trump accomplishes literally nothing else in his presidency other than a handful of pardons on day 1 and then the border and diplomacy, he'll still have a successful presidency. He'll still be remembered as a good president by anyone that doesn't have Trump derangement syndrome. Unfortunately, a lot of people do seem to have it. So that's his promise. On day 1, the J6ers are pardoned. I'm going to hold him to that promise. And trust me, as somebody who voted for Donald Trump, supports Donald Trump, certainly supports MAGA populism, I will be the first person to bitch and moan about it if that's not one of the first things that he does. I'll give him 48 hours. I'll give him till day 2. That's the window of time in which he needs to get that done. He absolutely needs to pardon them. He should probably pardon Snowden. I would like it if he pardoned Assange, but I don't expect that to happen. I expect him to go all in on Assange, unfortunately, because, reasons. Hi, Clankers. UK Stan here. Sadiq Khan getting a knighthood is like a vampire getting a pardon from the Pope. Yeah, at least the real-life vampire actually deserved a pardon from the Pope, though. I think personally the J6 thing violates the rights of the people being tried in the first place. Uh, it's certainly, as you pointed out there, Ubuk, it's not a speedy trial now, is it? Oh, yeah, you spent 2 years in jail under trespass charges. That makes a whole lot of sense. Dude, you get charged with battery, you're looking at 6 months. To serve 2 years, therefore, especially in solitary for mere trespass, unaggravated, by the way, you didn't have a weapon or anything, is completely ridiculous. Ketchup on pardons. That's what I'm talking about. Ketchup makes everything better, including presidential pardons. Let's see. Ministry of Wrongthink. Using bomber drones against single combatants trying to surrender needs to be considered a war crime. It's a cowardly, terroristic tactic. Agreed. My big worry, though, is something much, much larger. Imagine that some fucking nerd working for a non-state actor decides to hatch a bunch of drones together, put thermite charges on them, and sink a couple of aircraft carriers or something like that. It'd be like Pearl Harbor on steroids, and unfortunately, it's very likely to happen. Copium poppies. Trump could declare an emergency and executive order taxation to cease for the entirety of the emergency, kind of like Biden did with student loans. It wouldn't hold up in the courts. That's the problem. Although, yes, if they suspended taxation, that would be a great thing. I think most Americans would probably approve of this glowingly. Yeah, Saxon Violets. It's going to be some fucking nerd with $2,000 worth of equipment and a chemistry degree, and they're going to sink several $billion worth of assets into the ocean or something like that. Or ground an entire fleet by running them into an airbase under the radar. And it's going to be a real big problem. And then you watch the government, if it's not managed by the right people at the time, they're going to use that as an excuse for more authoritarianism or something. Marina Medvin says, Daniel Penny judge dismissed count 1, manslaughter, after a hung jury. But he is going to allow the jury to consider count 2, negligent homicide, on Monday, which is today. Here's the problem. Look at the instructions. Count 2 consideration was contingent on count 1 deliberations. The decision to allow consideration of count 2 removes the defense protective obstacles from the instruction. If Penny is convicted as a result, the defense will have a field day on appeal. This appears to be correct. The original instructions in the Daniel Penny case effectively said, deliberate on manslaughter, everything else is secondary. If the manslaughter charge is dropped according to the original instructions by the judge themselves, appears to effectively nullify the second charge, which means that if he is charged with it, they're going to appeal immediately. The motion will carry, and he's not going to serve a day in jail. So basically, Daniel Penny at this point, he's looking at either paying a few $1,000s in fines or literally nothing happens to him, other than the civil suit, of course, which will be a problem. With the manslaughter charge dropped, he's not going to get any significant time in jail. Like even if these instructions did not exist and he got found guilty on the secondary charge, he's looking at like a weekend in jail, basically. You know, you get coffee and toast in the morning, as long as you're not in New Orleans. And that's basically the only thing that would happen. You get some coffee and toast, you pay a fine, and, you know, you do the time, but the time is like 48, 72 hours or something like that. And then you leave and your name is effectively cleared. Yeah, you got found guilty, but nobody really cares about reckless endangerment. It's not a major charge. The problem is that it appears that in this particular case, they're letting the secondary charge be considered, even though it shouldn't legally be considered at all. Again, there's a reason why they're saying, yeah, his defense would have a field day with this. I have a feeling they'll find him not guilty on the lesser included, That's assuming that the case even continues to move forward. I guess they're literally convening right now. I have a feeling they'll find him not guilty, simply because of the legal ramifications of bothering to even find him guilty in the first place. So Daniel Penny has effectively been acquitted. This is for the best. He did nothing wrong. He did not intentionally kill a man. He restrained a man who was so high at the time that he probably would have died anyway. Sort of a George Floyd situation when you think about it. Yeah, Lemon Curd Zero. What did they give you at Nowlan's Sticks for breakfast? Vignette? No, they give you a prison patty, if you're lucky. That's one of the few edible things. If you're lucky, you get some applesauce, and then you get the brown bag lunch, and that's basically the tangerine and the biscuits are the only thing edible in there. For dinner, mystery meat, basically. The food is abysmal. It is not seasoned. It is barely salted. It's basically a Michelle Obama lunch. That's what jail in New Orleans is like, so I recommend that you either not visit New Orleans, or if you're there, you definitely don't go to jail. Yeah, you get the prison patty, man. It's basically, imagine it's like a piece of meat. It looks kind of like a hamburger, and it's soaked in grease. I mean, it's exceptionally fatty. It's probably very high in protein. That's the good part. But imagine that they don't season it at all. Literally none. I mean, I've heard about jail in Vermont, and it sounds like the goddamn Ritz compared to what you're getting in New Orleans. And I would rather take fucking 60 days in a Vermont jail than 6 hours in a New Orleans jail, honestly. People up here, they'll complain about the conditions. Holy shit, you have nothing to complain about. You got coffee this morning, you got toast, and you had a bed. I didn't have any of those things. No bed, no blanket, sleeping on a cement floor. Food is unmentionably terrible. That's basically, what happened. God, I can't imagine. Some of those dudes must have been in there for weeks. I only spent fucking 2 days in there. I thought it was a week, though. It was so miserable that when I got out and I made my video, I thought I had spent a week in the slammer. It wasn't a week, though. It just felt like a week. WB Trophy Wife, thank you for all you do. Thank you very much. West Virginian Trophy Wife. Let's see. Coffee Slayer. Hey, Sticks, did you get my DM? Clank, you rock. I don't actually think that I did. Bump it to the top. My apologies again. I get like 100 messages just about news every day. Copium Puppies. Also, he could declare any politicians in favor of keeping taxation terrorists and use the indefinite detention provision of the NDAA to lock them up in Gitmo while the vote is held to abolish income and property tax and the IRS. I don't think he'll do that, much as I would agree with him doing so. Ministry of Wrongthink. I predict they'll start loading entire drone swarms into long-range missiles that'll airburst over targets and release AI-controlled swarms. Sadly, that's always a possibility, too. There are easier ways to do it, though. Slick Rick, now that ethnic minorities in Syria are at risk of being targeted, you mean exterminated, by the way, would they have a chance if they escape to the Golan Heights? Very concerning. I don't think the Israelis are going to protect them. I think that they're doomed, unfortunately, at least short term. The hope is, of course, once Trump gets into office, then diplomacy breaks out and hopefully Islamofascism doesn't take root. But then again, the other rebel groups are all communists, so, yeah. Pick your poison. Would you rather drink cyanide or arsenic? That's basically the choice that many Syrians currently have. Coffee Slayer, Sticks, you are one of my fave content creators, dude. Thank you. Just a second here. Much like I had audio problems at the beginning of the broadcast, now I appear to be, I'm not exactly sure what's happening over here. Just give me a second. Saxon Violence. Eat your beans for every meal. I remember that. My grandfather used to say that. He'd say, beans, beans, the musical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the better it feels. So eat beans at every meal. Something like that. For some reason, I glitched out for a second. Yeah, whatever. As long as I'm still live. Let's get to our sponsors, though, before we continue with the news. Many humorous subjects today, by the way. We've got cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills. I take them every morning and not without good reason. Now, there's a reason why I'm so energetic at the moment. When I wake up in the morning, basically, I feel like I'm dead. I take mushroom pills and generally I feel better. It's just sort of a thing. We've got pumpkinfirecrafts.us, where you can get bookmarks, important for the bibliophile in your life, keychains, belt chains, engraved spoons, glassware, and much more. While I like the engraved spoons, I think the bookmarks are the most utilitarian because I read books constantly. I mean, I literally edit for a living as well on the side, so it's a good thing. We've got BiltonUSA.com or AntonsUSA.com. By the way, use code STIX10 for 10% off. You can get biltong from Anton. He can serve you the good shit. You can put it in soup. The shredded meat is good for that. The sticks of meat, pun intended, the Angus and Cabanassi, great for like hiking or something like that, because you can literally just shove it in your pocket and you're just nomming on it when you're on the trail. And then if you get attacked by an animal, you know, probably they'd rather eat that than eat you because it's probably tastier. Wicked Needle Embroidery.bigcartel.com, where you can get stick, sex, and hammer hats. There are several varieties and several colors that are available. Again, I would like to talk about the accident that they had with the apparently there was a camo hat that actually had the Ouroboros logo on it. I think it looks really great, but it's not currently for sale, so I have to contact them. HeritageHeirloomSeedCompany.com, where you can get a seed survival bucket and you can grow delicious things. Yeah, and they're good for decoration because apparently they last forever. You can also get stick, sex, and hammer soap. There are two different varieties available. The lavender marjoram, which is sort of like the girls' soap bar, and then there's the cedar clove blueberry. That's more like the dude's bar. Although, honestly, it doesn't really matter. They both smell delicious. We've got websterswares.com/sticks-wares, where you can get blades, you can get beanies, an homage to Tim Pool. You can also get metal straws so that you don't kill a turtle until you intend to eat it. You can also get Trump merch available there as well. I think there's still a Black Friday sale, if I remember correctly. And finally, jamandbean.com. That is JAMNbean.com, where you can get Clank coffee. It is the finest coffee that you'll find. No offense, quartering. Coffee brand coffee is pretty great stuff, but I'm still going to side with the Clank over everything else. Also, teas available. I would recommend the Buccaneer or the Healer. Those are the two best ones. And then there's that Hunan Jin, I think it's called. It's like a standard black tea, but fresher, and it's absolutely delicious. So yeah, those are our sponsors. There are people who sponsored the show, believe it or not. Copium Puppies, maybe he didn't just consider doing so. You yourself says he doesn't give a shit anymore since he can't run again. Also, you said someone in the Trump camp may be a clanker. Maybe they could pitch the idea to him. I guarantee there's at least one Trump staffer that's aware of my content because they literally shared it out on the official presidential account. Or rather at Real Donald Trump on Twitter. Unfortunately, it was the Daily Motion version of that video. So I'm sure that somebody does or did watch my content. That being said, actually making suggestions to the administration is a little bit more of a convoluted process. Fuck, I'd probably have to go through Barron or something like that. Maybe Don Jr., he's a shit poster. Anti-Illuminati, I'm worried about what they're going to do about Trump getting in the way of the shadow government's foreign policy. I'm sick and tired of our military being used by globalist operatives for the world government agenda. Totally agree with you. Yeah, I'm tired of war. I'm tired of the fucking horseshit. People should be left alone, generally speaking. It's like, God, you know, the average person in Israel or Palestine, all they want to do is what? Grow figs or something like that? Leave them alone. But unfortunately, sometimes there's nothing that we can do about it here in the United States. Ozzy's Robots. Hey, Sticks, have you heard some shenanigans in Orange County, California might have flipped 3 seats from red to blue? Will Trump's DOJ investigate? They can, but these are Republicans we're dealing with. It'll be completely ballless, so don't expect any clarity on that. Sticks X and Ham R 666. Does the soap come on a rope? Lol. Now, you don't have that problem. That's wildly overblown. Now, the biggest problem when you go to jail is the fucking food. And if there's a lot of overcrowding, as there definitely is in Orleans Parish, you don't have a bed or a blanket. Good luck finding one. Todd Gibson, did you ever say why you were in jail? Wife was curious. I remember you said you couldn't say anything months ago. I'm not going to discuss my case. It would be legally a poor idea to discuss it at all. But I was charged with battery. We'll leave it at that. BW, do you think Assad being deposed is good or bad for us? I hear US wanted him gone, but I'm thinking it's the globalists. It's neither good or bad because thankfully under Donald Trump, we're unlikely to get further involved. But it's definitely bad for the people of Syria. Imagine you've got 2 choices. Again, pick your poison. You have an authoritarian quasi-dictator who does suppress people, but at least he's protecting ethnic and religious minorities, generally speaking, because he doesn't want to be deposed. The opposition is a conglomerate of Islamo-fascists who will behead you for having the wrong religion, and communists who will probably shoot you for having the wrong economic ideology. I think that I would choose Assad in the situation. Yes, I would prefer, I would prefer to be led by like Benjamin Franklin or something like that. I'm a libertarian. But if I had to choose an authoritarian regime, gun to head mode, I would choose Assad over the people that have deposed him. Absolutely. I would absolutely choose Assad. Dr. Claw, MD, beware the house of the rising sun. Dr. Claw, by the way, Inspector Gadget, one of the best series ever made. And one of the few series that they remade and they didn't destroy it, actually. Crossover Maniac. I worked with a guy at a temp job who was in prison, and he said the worst part about prison are the jerks you're locked up with. I found him to be bros, actually. Like, there was this dude, he was charged with second-degree homicide, right? And he's, like, offering me part of a tangerine, which I politely, rejected because, Jesus. And then he's like doing an older man's hair. Like there was this dude in a wheelchair, clearly geriatric. And the dude who was charged with second-degree homicide was like combing his hair and shit like that. It's all a bunch of brosifs, actually. It's like a college dorm more than anything else. Jail wasn't nearly as bad as I expected, except for the goddamn food. The food is inedible. Completely, totally inedible, at least if you're in Orleans Parish. The dudes that are there, which are 90% black dudes, they're all bros. The only dude who acted up was the fucking skinhead. Super Slob, Daniel Penny verdict just dropped, acquitted. Oh, we have to look this up. We might have breaking news. Let's see. Daniel Penny jury returns. Yeah, they dismissed the original. This must be really breaking news because I'm not seeing anything about it. Is it true? Can anyone confirm Daniel Penny has been fully acquitted? It's believable and predicted. Copium Poppies. Our singer can do a spot-on impersonation of Dr. Claw. Next time, Gadget. Next time. And he always had that cat next to him. And you never saw Dr. Claw. You only saw his, like, armored arm. Space Friend. Thoughts on Owen Benjamin. Everyone from Dimpool to Toe Rogan has blacklisted him for gardening and speaking truth. Would be awesome to see you two do a show together. Clank. I don't mind Owen Benjamin. Doesn't he have a bunch of goats and stuff like that? I mean, if he's gardening and raising goats, then he's my kind of guy. I don't get into the E-drama. I don't care. Sigil Stone, I thought the worst thing about jail was all the murderers, rapists, and other violent criminals. No, the murderer that I met in jail was one of the most based dudes. That's the weird irony of it. And then there was a dude, he was in on, what charge did he say he was on? He was on theft charges. And he was letting me use, you've got payphones in the jail. I couldn't remember my mom's phone number, actually. Whoops. There's a reason I have it written down now and imprinted in my memory like a goddamn firebrand. And he let me use the phone on his dime or his relative's dime in order to try to call her. It was a weird situation. Yeah, no, Dr. Claw wasn't the cat. He was the dude that had just his arm in the frame, and then he would always pet the cat because he was evil. Doc Holliday, U.S. government bombing Syria and lying, saying they're bombing ISIS. Obama admin instigated the civil war because Syria wouldn't let us run a natural gas pipeline through Syria to hurt Russian interests. True. Pumpkin Fire Crafts. Good morning, clankers and sticks. Gemstone necklaces available. Jade, turquoise, and a few others. Still shipping in time for Christmas. 10% off using code STICKS. Excellent. I like turquoise a lot. Sigil Stone. Well, yeah, of course the murderer was cool with you. You obviously weren't the one that pissed him off. Yeah, no, he seemed like an okay dude. For all I know, he's fucking innocent. That's the other thing. When you're in jail, you have to sort of reconsider the fact that some of the people around you have been falsely accused. I would know the feel. Copium poppies. Holy shit. We haven't seen Sticks and Dr. Claw in the same place. That's why he wore the Mark Hamill glove. Yeah, I've still got it over here too. Ha ha ha. I am Dr. Claw. As you can tell, today I'm not taking things particularly seriously. Ha ha ha, yes. John Hoyle, where was our CIA warning months ago that Syria was about to fall? Where was the MSM reporting it? Nowhere, out to lunch as always. Yes, indeed. Yeah, they screwed the pooch on that one. The FDA may outlaw food dyes within weeks. Bombshell move would affect candy, sodas, and cakes, revolutionize American diets. Now, here's my thoughts on food dye. I know people that are sensitive to it. It's sort of like gluten and things like that. Some people are rather sensitive towards it, and some people like myself have no problem with it. Like I can eat dyed foods. I don't really eat candy or anything like that. According to the FDA, the agency has reviewed the safety of Red 3, which is derived from petroleum and found in snacks, beverages, candy, and more in Food and Drugs multiple times since it was first approved in 1969. But the petition has requested for the additive to be reviewed once more. And I think I know why they're moving to do this right now. It's literally just politics. What they're trying to do is prevent RFK Jr., the incoming head of, the medical complex in the United States, which is absolutely hysterical. They're trying to prevent him from scoring a win. They're basically trying to cock block him. So you start the ball rolling before the new administration begins. You get the investigations going. And then, of course, he can no longer claim full credit for it once he's actually in his cabinet position. Which he probably will be actually accepted in. I think that this is purely political. I don't think it has anything to do with the government giving a shit about people's particular health. If they did, they would have done it years ago. BW, sorry for my earlier negativity, Sticks. I have long needed to work on that. Daniel Penny is acquitted per New York Post. And there's yep. Okay, Daniel Penny has been officially acquitted, which is very, very good news. I predicted that would happen once the original case fell through. I don't think there was no way that they could find him guilty on the lesser included charge after deliberating the first charge anyway, without the defense cutting them to ribbons. So I think the jury just said, fuck it, basically. So I guess the holdout juror just finally said, whatever. Sigil Stone, call me crazy, but I think we shouldn't be allowing petroleum products into our food. Yeah, generally speaking, yeah. It appears that red dye 3 especially is sort of the boogeyman. Again, I don't have any problem with food dye. I just see it as unnecessary. It's just an unnecessary additive. They removed the page. What the hell is going on with Daniel Penny then? Yeah, take this back off in order to type. Whatever. I'm trying to get, let's see. Yep, he's been found not guilty. 3 minutes ago by News Nation. Penny was charged in Jordan Neely's death after being accused of putting the man in a fatal chokehold on a New York subway. By the way, the grammatical errors there are because they're rushing out the news. Penny was charged Jordan Neely's death. Yeah. The editor in me wants to strangle someone. Yeah. Yeah, the homicide charge was dismissed earlier, and apparently he's been found not guilty of negligent homicide at this time. Excellent. Ta-da! Breaking news. Daniel Penny acquitted, which means now somebody will burn down a Wendy's or something. Redane. Owen Benjamin tends to massively overdose on conspiracy theories. He also bans anyone that even slightly disagrees with him. I take up the opposite tack on that. I don't ban anyone for the most part. I don't have any problem with him, though. I mean, if he raises goats and likes gardening, he's okay in my book. Tasmanaut, what's with all the drone sightings in New Jersey? That's the problem. The FBI is currently investigating. They're probably investigating their own fucking drones. So, yeah, good luck with that one. Felix Fanboy Rico, Daddy, pop bottles for D Penny. Goodness. I'm getting perved on by Felix Fanboy Rico on a daily basis now. Not that I mind. Lord of the Ree, is Owen Benjamin still into that cringe flat earth BS? Maybe you can ask him about it. Clank. I believe that was mostly a running joke, if I remember correctly. I suck at guitar. Mostly peaceful protests in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. That's probably why the jury took so long to deliberate. They want to go home to their communities and their communities not be in fucking flames. I think that's basically the only reason they deliberated so long. Ozzy's Robots. Moving up in the world, wife and I are going to the inauguration ball with the POTUS, Cabinet Department meet and greet. Hope to talk to RFK Jr. I could be his compliance chief. I know all the pharma and device scams. Just make sure to carry me on your coat strings, please, Ozzy. That would be fun. Fear Coffin Man. Daniel was acquitted, but the lowlife POS dad is going to sue him in civil court and probably win. Oh, he'll get a GoFundMe going. He'll be fine. After all the notoriety from this case, the one thing that he can count on, he's not going to be broke again. Alan Smithy, where are the kitties? I need cat therapy today. I have no kitties at the moment. It's rather sad. I think at least 3 of them are asleep in the bedroom, though. They all have their spots, by the way. Athena has basically claimed the bed. Gizmo tends to claim the robe, wherever it happens to be located, especially if it's in the closet. He will sleep on that. Micah normally crawls into the drawers, and Quincy the other day, it was funny. He tried to crawl into the drawer in order to sleep in there, but he's too fucking huge. He's too fucking fat, so he couldn't fit. And so he comes back out and he looks at me in an accusatory manner, like I'm responsible for him being obese. So I gave him some squiddy snacks, and then he felt better and he wandered off to go nap. We're getting into some very hard-hitting news, by the way. Felix Fanboy Rico, Daddy, an ethical question. Do you find it wrong or unethical to use AI to help expand upon an idea or use it to help write a story or script? No. If it can aid you in that, I see nothing wrong with it. I've made a bunch of pictures of Cthulhu advertising corporate brands, for example. It's hysterical. I was originally going to use H.P. Lovecraft, and it'd be like, the original one was like Red Bull. It will cause you to generate a bunch of vestigial appendages or something like that. But then I found Grok is not really capable of generating an image of H.P. Lovecraft. For some reason, it appears to believe that he's General Tarkin from Star Wars. So I had to use Cthulhu, actually. Funny story. I've got many of them. Skyrim Giants are sponsored by Red Bull. They give you wings. Bocephus, well, it looks like Western man might choose right. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah, then we've got Trump's response on Syria. I happen to agree with him, by the way. Syria has collapsed. Assad, it's not entirely clear exactly where he and his family are. Hopefully they're all safe because they're better than the alternative. Again, I'm no fan of any authoritarian regime. But if you've got an authoritarian regime that is at least generally maintaining order, and then you have a bunch of people coming in trying to unseat that regime, but they're not trying to do it for any liberty-loving purpose. They're trying to do that to enforce their religious or ethnic principles or something like that. In this case, Islamo-fascists and communists who will inevitably attack one another as soon as this dust-up is over. I would prefer the authoritarian quasi-dictator. So Assad has been ousted. Syria has fallen. Damascus is now under the control of a bunch of Islamic rebels. They are going to absolutely massacre the population. Hundreds of thousands of people are about to die. Yazidi, Christians, Jews, Shia Muslims, Alawites. Assad happens to be an Alawite. They're all going to die. Anyone that doesn't flee is going to die. It's like I saw that picture earlier and people were gloating about it. They're like, oh, look, these little girls were in prison. Now they've been freed. Yeah, they're free to marry the 60-year-old next door. That's going to be so much better. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, so to speak. That's exactly what's happening in Syria. You do not have to be a fan of Bashar al-Assad, and I'm certainly not, in order to understand the gravity of the situation. But Trump is fundamentally right. Number one, it's not our fight. And number two, there's literally nothing we can fucking goddamn do about it. The U.S. can't do anything. We have to rely upon the Russians to do that. This is actually good for the West in one way. The Russians are likely to divert resources to Syria, which means things in Ukraine may calm down a bit. And then negotiation can go forward. And under Trump, the negotiations will actually exist in the first place. That would be better. Nonetheless, it's still a bad scenario. There are going to be, over the next 48 hours, 100,000 women are going to be raped, many of them minors, for example. There's going to be a massacre. Anyone who stood on the side of Bashar al-Assad is a marked man. They're going to be shot. They're going to be raped. They're going to be manhandled. They're going to be put in jails. They're going to be beaten. They're going to be driven out of the country. And that's if they're lucky. If they're lucky, then they just get driven out of the country and they say, get lost. And then they'll end up in Europe. That's what's going to happen, actually, over the next 48, 72 hours. There's going to be a literal massacre. And unfortunately, there are some people that think that this is a good thing. Well, Assad is out. Haha, Russia's pawn is gone. That's great. The incoming administration, who are they a pawn of? Because Syria is a minor nation, so they're necessarily going to be under somebody's sphere. They don't seem to understand sociopolitics at all. Kelsey be soft. Catch, have a pint on me, and thanks for all the clanking in 2024. Wait till 2025. There'll be plenty more. Thank you very much. Although I won't be getting a pint, maybe a pint of mushroom pills, I suppose. Retling, they're going to be beheaded, hung upside down, and set on fire while alive, disemboweled, and drugged behind hillocks I should have. Yeah. Unfortunately for the ethnic and religious minorities in Syria, very, very dark times are ahead. On January 20th, you might get some reprieve because U.S. leadership will actually be once again capable of conducting diplomacy. Until then, you're going to have to fend for yourselves. And even then, I wouldn't support any physical involvement in Syria whatsoever. We do have a small contingent of troops on the eastern side of Syria. That's literally the only thing that we have in the general region. While it would be nice if somebody else in the area could restore order and drive the rebels back out, the problem is that the West is not a fan of Bashar al-Assad. This is sort of a Gaddafi situation all over again. You remember, Gaddafi. He and his sons, they're raping people, they're fucking using drugs, doing all sorts of crazy shit. Gaddafi gets ousted, and everyone cheers. The dictator is gone. Well, what's Libya like now? I bet that they beg for Gaddafi back. The problem is that sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. That was definitely the case in Libya, and it's definitely going to be the case in Syria. Unfortunately, the country will probably collapse, absent sane Western leadership, at least for a limited amount of time. Hopefully, we can help to restore order, but we can't do that in the military sense. There's nothing that we can do. Yeah, you're going to end up with open air slave markets. Hey, you want a Syrian 12-year-old? Only $100. And that's probably what the price would be. You can go to Libya right now. You can buy a half a dozen fucking slaves with a month's salary. If you're really interested in that sort of shit, I'm sure that all of the Epsteiners, oh God, I bet they take bank holidays to Libya. Now they'll have Syrian kids too. They can, pick and choose. Bunch of weirdos. And they're the ones responsible. You know that the Biden administration had to have had a role in what happened here. I'm not fucking stupid. It's just you have to wonder what exactly that role was. Copium poppies. Nothing wrong with using AI in creative works as long as you don't try and hide it. Think of it like a collaborator. Give credit where it's due. Agreed. Yeah, I like some AI music. Is really great. Crossover Maniac, red message in the chat. Super chat is blocking it. Maybe you tell me why it's being blocked. I have no clue. I don't block jack shit. YouTube randomly blocks stuff. Sly Fox, why do you care so much about scum who aren't our allies? I care about human beings. I care about human lives and their well-being and so forth. I don't care if they happen to be Syrian, Libyan, Nigerian, Canadian. Maybe not Canadian, but I'm just joking. Or American. Don't give a shit about that. I mean, you got to understand my position. I'm a content creator. I've got over 350 million views on my content. People in virtually every country have watched my shit, other than maybe North Korea, Turkmenistan, and a couple of others. Everywhere else, there's at least one person that's clanking. And so I try to keep that in mind. And so I don't have a problem with people from foreign countries. Do I believe in a strong border security and things like that? Yes. That's just for pragmatic reasons, though. It's not because I have a problem with anyone else in the world. I like Mexicans. I like Indians. I like Australians, mostly. People from Iceland and so forth. I don't have a problem with the Kurds. I don't have a problem with the Syrian people in general. I don't give a shit. I stopped caring long ago. Garant, the U.S. hates Assad because he refused the Qatar-Turkey pipeline. Yes, that was mentioned before, which the U.S. wanted. And then, by some coincidence, a color revolution took place. Yeah, I know, and the timing is coincidental, too. Right after the presidential election, before the new U.S. administration is actually incepted. Total coincidence. Felix Fanboy Rico, reaction to the new Jay-Z accusations. Haven't seen them. Sigil Stone, Russia going to be real eager to end Ukraine war now their sphere is collapsing. They lose Iran too. They're officially relegated to backwater status. Yeah, Russia is, they've got some fucking problems. They also have thousands of nuclear weapons, so maybe trying to corner them is not the greatest idea in the world. Just tell us, Sticks, have you tried the eggs yet? Eggs? I don't know exactly what you're referring to, my man. Milei delivers on promise to make Argentina great again. Yes, Argentina has finally a stable economy. It has not had that in some time. Javier Milei's reforms fundamentally have worked. And by the way, we've got something similar that's slated for the United States. There are some plans to go through the bureaucracy, right? There are several hundred major bureaus, and compact them until there are less than 100 of them. This would save us enormous amounts of money, enormous amounts of time, highly increase efficiency, and it's exactly what's been done in Argentina. And it worked. People were saying that Milei was going to collapse the economy, and he's going to come in like a goddamn blockbuster. everything gets destroyed, rip it all apart, and the economy collapses. There's hyperinflation, which originally, temporarily, there was quite a bit of extra inflation, and he's going to destroy everything. Instead, what's happened is that he's reformed the Argentinian economy in such a way that it's actually stable for the first time in literally decades. He's an unmitigated success. He's also a bestie of Donald Trump, the incoming U.S. administration. It's going to be funny. I have a feeling that Javier Milei and Donald Trump are going to end up like shit posting together and like making weird photos. Like they're going to get McDonald's or something like that. It's going to be fucking hilarious. Instead of yielding to pressure, Mr. Milei doubled down with a Ministry of Deregulation and State Transformation. Oh, it sounds a little bit like Doge now, doesn't it? That jettisoned useless red tape. Casualties included a bizarre statute allowing the president to become the godfather of a family's seventh son. Apparently, this was part of Argentinian law until recently. The ministry also called regulations governing pigeon racing, offering a monetary reward to anyone who discovers a coal mine. That kind of makes sense. Authorizing the military's use of microfilm to store its records, and guaranteeing free parking to politicians. And it goes on to talk about some of the dumb laws. I think the coal mine one kind of makes sense. Like if you discover a coal mine and then the government comes in and exploits it, okay, you probably should get a monetary reward. Other than that, though, the other things sound fucking bizarro. I was sent pickled eggs? I haven't received them yet, but I mean, when I do, absolutely I'm going to eat those. I've never tried pickled eggs before. I know I like pickles and I know I like eggs, so, you know, it's a no-brainer. Sigil Stone, nukes ain't cheap or easy to maintain, and Russia has been a shit heap since 1991. I don't believe their nukes work anymore. And clearly Western leaders don't either. They abuse their military too much. There was a dual doctrine in the nuclear era, generally speaking. The West decided that it was best to have more sophisticated but less weapons, and for them to be more generally tactical. So you have like the Minuteman and stuff like that. The Eastern Bloc, especially Russia, decided, let's just upscale the weapon. It doesn't matter if it's accurate because it's 10 megatons of blast, so it doesn't matter if we don't hit the target directly. Unfortunately, it became a lot more expensive to maintain those latter systems than the former ones. But yeah, Russia does still have nukes that are operative. It's not their entire stockpile. What I would worry about in a nuclear scenario is imagine dummy missiles. So for every nuke that you're firing, you've also got a couple of empty warheads, I mean, chemical weapons or something like that. And so the enemy doesn't know what to intercept because they don't know which ones are the real ones. That would be, I think, the real problem. Flip SHIB, suitcase nukes, true or false? True. They are capable of being developed. It'd just be a very heavy suitcase. Look at the Davy Crockett device that the United States developed. Became the actual inspiration for the mini nuke in Fallout. Effectively, you could have a pickup truck with a field gun on the back, fit the mini nuke on it, and then fire it half a mile and destroy an entire column. The reason why these were discontinued, I think unwisely, due to modern ballistics, was because, unfortunately, depending on the wind, you might irradiate your own troops. Yeah, there's a big problem. Sigil, seriously, Putin loved the mafia too much and beat down even the guys running the silos and engineers and everyone. Ukraine exposed how badly they fucked up in that area. Yeah. By the way, please send no more super chats because I'm going to get to the Orca story and then go offline. I'm running up on an hour. Pumpkin Firecraft, Sticks, I know you said you like turquoise, but have you another gemstone you would like that you would say that you like best? Garnet, my birthstone. Definitely garnet. I mean, I'm wearing it for a reason. Sly Fox, my girlfriend is from Colombia, so I understand about caring about people from other nations, but we're talking about the Middle East. I don't want their kids to get fucked either. I don't want some 65-year-old man marrying any child in any country. I realize that it happens, but I don't believe in abusing people, you know? So I do care about Syria. I think it's sad because they had at least a relatively stable, if not authoritarian regime, relatively high development standards for that particular region, and now they've lost it. It's going to be lost intergenerationally. I feel sorry for them. Brock Sampson, now that Syria fell, I guess Israel will expand its territory and the Greater Israel Project is still in motion. Your thoughts? That's a Zionistic internationalistic policy that is not currently embraced by the government of Israel. Interventionism, yeah, we see plenty of that. Just look at Palestine right now. As far as annexing further land, I don't think Netanyahu really has that on the docket at this moment. Andrew Van Halen, didn't Assad and his family land in Russia? Oh, at least they'll be safe there. I hope that they got to Russia. Hopefully they make a triumphant return, then the Syrian people won't all be fucking enslaved. Copium Poppies. For instance, we used Logic's virtual drummer to create most of the drums on our upcoming EP. We created the rest and hired a human drummer for one track. Our vids, the footage, was created by AI with our prompts and various edits. Something I wish I had the skill to do because I got so many things that I would love to make. Crossover Maniac. Daniel Penny should return the favor. The family let their son go unsupervised. Yeah, he should countersue. Add insult to injury. The Happy Plague Doctor. Check out the nuclear-powered rocket. They got really good at micronizing nukes. They don't like to talk about it. Hello, Tenerife. But yeah, I wanted to quickly talk about this. Please, again, send no more super chats or Rumble rants because I've got to go offline in a minute. I've got the other stream at 1 p.m. with the quartering too. So, I'd like to rest between my streams and preferably eat something. There's something fishy about a recent sighting of an orca in a salmon hat. Apparently, back in the 1980s, they discovered that orcas, highly intelligent beings, by the way, they do all sorts of crazy shit, free willy and all that stuff. Apparently, sometimes they randomly have a dead fish on their head, and they sort of wear it as ornamentation. At least in one case, the orca wore it for several days before finally casting it aside. It serves absolutely no biological purpose that they know of, but they've been documenting it sporadically for a long time. I don't know whether it's an inherited behavior or not, but they wear dead fish on their heads, like a human would wear a hat. Like when women go to the horse races, and they always wear those ridiculous hats, and it doesn't matter if it's sunny and they're trying to shield their face, or if it's rainy and they're trying to protect themselves in the water, they still wear the ridiculous hats anyway. It appears that orcas have the same ability to understand fashion effectively, proving that they're much more intelligent than originally estimated. I have a feeling that there are a lot of animals that are a lot more intelligent than man gives them credit for. For example, chimps can use simple tools. They know how to extract termites from a mound. They know how to wet stones effectively. Orangutans have been, seen doing similar things. You think of Coco the gorilla. Or then you think of corvids, one of my favorites, or certainly cats and dogs, some of the domesticated creatures that we've deliberately bred to be more intelligent. I have a feeling that orcas, whales, elephants, and a few others sort of fit into that category where they're not necessarily, they don't have a civilization, but they're still intelligent. And by the way, I do approve of the concept of animal rights for them being expanded. I don't think anyone needs to be eating elephant meat, for example. Orcas are pretty cool. Sometimes they ram into ships and knock people off board. I saw one video, actually, somebody sent this to me about a week ago. There was this woman, she was piloting her little boat around like in a fjord or some shit. And she randomly noticed that there was a seal aboard, and the seal was just sort of standing there looking at her. Then she noticed that there was a pod of orcas that was sort of circling the boat, and she's like, oh, shit. And the orcas kept, like, breaching up around the boat, and she must have been fucking terrified. And they were trying to get the seal, and finally, I think they went away. They're very intelligent. When we were kids, I'm speaking for myself, I suppose, sorry. Back in the 90s, we were told basically, proto-humans were just a bunch of cave dwellers that pounded each other on the head, and most animals were fucking retarded. Now we're beginning to think a little bit differently. Yeah, orcas are terrifying. They will fuck you up. Richard Reynolds, don't tell me what to do. Viral Wasp, do you think the Kurdish forces will use the regime collapse to their advantage and expand their area of control in the region? And if yes, would you consider that a positive development? I believe that the Kurdish groups in Syria are semi-separate from the ones in Turkey, so I wouldn't expect so. I do expect that they would try to move forward in Syria, but they're facing off against a much larger group of Islamofascists, so it'll be a little bit difficult. Sigil, let's see how intelligent orcas really are in fashion by asking them about Art Deco. If they say anything other than it's dog shit, fish them out. Clearly, they're an evolutionary cul-de-sac. I have a feeling orcas would like Art Deco. Anyways, I'm going to go offline. We've run up on an hour. I will be back tomorrow with more hard-hitting news and random bants. As you can tell, sometimes I devolve a little bit. Also, I'm a little bit tired today and have another stream that I have to do. So, oh shit, I have another super chat. Stepsis, breaking. Daniel Penny acquitted on all charges. Yes, indeed. He has been acquitted, which is really good. I'm sure that I'll be talking about that with the quarterly later. By the way, because that CEO killer has not been caught yet, I told the quartering already he owes me a second V8. He has to drink 2 of them on the stream today. He has to get his extra vegetables because he was wrong. He thought that the CEO killer would be caught on day 1. Well, we're on day 4 or something like that now, and he still hasn't been caught and is probably now no longer in New York State at all, according to investigators. So we'll be looking into that, I'm sure. It's going to be a fun time. That's about all. Peace out.